What's going on, my people? You're listening to The Score, an urban music education podcast hosted by Eric and Justin, where we discuss tips and strategies on how to become a more effective, compassionate, and culturally responsive music educator. What's going on, my people? This is Eric.
And this is Justin.
And we're your hosts for
The Score.
Welcome to episode 102. Head and Assistant Directors, a match forged through truth and grace. What's up, Justin? How you doing, bruh?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well, still navigating this new career space, so it's very exciting. A lot of meetings, a lot of more meetings than I was used to in the school sector. Gonna be very honest. A lot of meetings, a lot of conference calls. Hey, let's do a hard stop. Let's do a working lunch. So I'm getting used to that. But I've been taking cues from you because you've showed me the way. No, but it's
don't follow too close now. I don't want to be blamed for nothing, unless it's good. So man, I'm curious how many corporate lingo jargons have you picked up?
Oh man, it's like, hey, let's table that. We're gonna do that offline. Let's make sure. Hey, can we get a calendar invite for this? Let's put a pause on. It's just so. I'm just like, ugh. Okay.
Man, obviously, man, I think a lot of couples do this, but my wife and I do this, and we share reels with each other, even if we're in the
you
same
and me,
room,
we do the same thing.
And man, I got to put you on. Her name is Corporate Natalie.
Okay,
she's hilarious, man. I saw one recently, was like the one that won't stop working for no reason, and then she's in the airport like holding the laptop like I'm just boarding. I can still talk. So I've been in situations already that it's like I'm taking this call. I'm a park. I'm gonna make sure that I got good signal. And but man, when there's the beauties of remote working, but at the same time it's like you get those flexibilities, but then you start figuring things out. Like I got a meeting at 2, so I got to be in a stationary position to do it.
Right. Definitely,
man. But that's so cool to hear, man. That because that took some getting used to for me too, man. And honestly, I think I think I still kind of carry myself in a way that's I use my own conversation or my own terms, and I try my best to not say, well, let's table that conversation and let's circle back.
Let's circle back to that,
and let's be laser focused on.
If we could get everybody's report, and then we'll go into the main agenda of today's meeting. Got it.
My goodness. Man, this is I got to give a shout out to our most recent guest, man. We're getting a lot of good responses on Dr. Andrew Hunter's episode, man. And so shout out to our brother there, and got some some good feedback. Even Los Profes found out about his shout out, so shout out to our homies out there, and then just folks that know of him and who he is as a person, and to hear him speak. So so good to get those type of recognitions for our friends and folks who are bringing some great things to the table, man. And so you offered this title, bro, Head and Assistant Directors, and this is something that I know I value because you served as an assistant director for me at one point in 2 situations specifically. Shout out to Balaji, a former guest of us, Gars as well, and Tim Richardson, a former guest, and all my former assistants that I've had the pleasure of working with. This is something that when I tell folks about how my relationship is with my people, I think other people get shocked because they're like, I don't have that relationship with my head, or vice versa. Or like, no, my assistants don't do a damn thing, and they're not really working. And so a match forged through truth and grace. I'm curious to know the subheading there. Why did you choose truth and grace?
Because I think that those two things go hand in hand, and I think sometimes part of the reason why your world and your journey as a head director with myself and Tim and BJ and just all the other people seems so odd to those that have not experienced that is because we want truth to be given. We want directors to know where they aren't doing well. We want to, constructively criticize and give them, hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to think about this in your classroom structure. Hey, you need to turn this paperwork. We want that. But at no time do we give grace. And I think part of what that grace is understanding who you were before you got the head title. What kind of proclivities did you have? What flaws did you have that you were able to fix? And then you got this head title. And yes, you can see those potholes happening for your assistant or some of the areas where they fall short. But instead of meeting them with grace and that constructive criticism and that accountability and that encouragement and that, hey, man, great job, and some of that, hey, I'm going to use that system for the whole band. Thanks for turning me on to that. I really appreciate it. Is why we see so many head and assistants clashing, and we don't see that journey of the head director pouring down, right? That's part of the issue, that the head director is not pouring down. And then when they are pouring down, it's a talk down, it's a talk at. And so that assistant is all they're hearing is what not to do and what they aren't doing, and your kid's not ready for the wind ensemble and you need to be doing this, where there's no collaboration. And I think the stronger band programs are ones that have head directors and assistants and staff people that are in process of collaborating week to week, month to month, year to year. And I think that the better we see that, I think we'll get more instances like you and me. Not to say that it's always going to be easy, right? Not to say that there aren't going to be hard conversations or like, hey guys, we got to this, that, and the third. But I do think that if we can use that grace, if we can meet people where they are and understand where they are, what have they been through, and how does that affect their teaching right now, I think it goes a long way.
I agree. I have, I was a very young head director. I think I was 24 when I took over specifically Davis High School as a high school director. But my first year teaching, I was a head director. I was at Sharpstown Middle School, and I was the only director. Then I got to Hamilton, and I was the only director, and was able to be fortunate enough to hire Balaji as my first assistant, and then you as a second. Right. And I was kind of just figuring things out as I went. It wasn't because there wasn't much training in undergrad or in general on how to manage folks. I mean, that's not part of our curriculum of, all right, now you're managing somebody and at the same time creating a colleague and a collaborative educator. Yeah. And I just did my best to honor folks, but at the same time, it was like, hey, and admittedly, finding the energy and the capacity in oneself to have those uncomfortable conversations, it's hard, Yeah. And because you think like, are they going to be mad at me? And how are they going to react? But then if you don't say anything, now you're holding it inside, and you're arguably creating some resentment towards that other person when the other person doesn't even know that's a problem. There's a problem there. Exactly. Yeah. And so I think you hit it on the nail because of truth and grace. As I got to be real. After being an assistant principal, I had that on lock. Because I had to have nothing but uncomfortable conversations there with students and educators included, because if I'm talking to students, 9 times out of 10, I'm dealing with some type of discipline referral, some discipline issue that I'm going to have an uncomfortable conversation to redirect that student. At the same time, if I'm having to have a direct conversation, majority of the time was to redirect the teacher to say, hey, I need you back at your threshold. I need you to do X, Y, and Z. You don't have enough grades by the 6th week. Just a reminder. And just navigating that full year of having what, as a band director, I didn't have to do as often with adults, really prepared me when I went back into the band hall with you at Heights High School. Yeah. That I started off the year meeting with every single person on the staff individually. And my first question was, hey, what are your personal goals? Right. And for some, it drew them back because it was like, well, this has nothing to do with the job. And I was like, well, if you're willing to share with me, it helps me support you. So exactly what you just said in the first half. It was know them, know what they've been through, know who they are, and that'll better help create this synergy and a team that's effective to serving students. Yeah. At the end of the day, it was like, hey, let's take care of each other. Let's take care of business so we can take care of our students, and you go home and handle your family, handle your friends. Like, you need that time and space. And that goes into the grace component. It's understanding the person to know, like, for example, shout out to our former colleague, Stephen Becker. You mess with his trips to Mexico, that is a no-go. And we know that. Like, it was like,
so we plan around that.
That's my time. Don't mess with that. I'm going, and for one could say, well, you should change that because the band is more important or our music program is more important and you should structure your life around that. I would argue, hell no, you don't.
Right.
And that's something that when I recognized that about him, I was like, cool, we know Mr. Becker's going to take his full vacation, but guess what? He's going to be here on day one, on time, ready to go. Yeah. And when you are consistent in those deliverables, vice versa, so okay, yes, that's his, like, no, don't touch that. But when you need me here, I'm going to be here. Right. And that man delivered. And this is a gentleman, if you're not familiar with Stephen Becker, he just retired a couple years ago. Did over, I think, 20 years at Reagan High School. Just somebody who dedicated his life to music. But guess what? What I just told you, there's an age difference there. And he was serving as my assistant director. So I'm not going to come at him with some ageism stuff. It's more so, what can you do as a team? So that goes into my next part, is to understand each other's roles. And when you talk about that talking down, man, I can't stand that because we're adults. I can hear Charlie Stevens say, I put on my pants just like you do. It's like, and so I think this is the part where I want to hear from you. Yeah. What has worked, even with you working with Balaji at one point, because you were split half and half. So you had somebody like me that you come and work with me, but then you would go sometimes half the day over there and spend it with Balaji. And then you got to work with Ryan Cliff. And so you've gotten to see some different dynamics from outside of you being a head director. Yeah. What has worked for you and an assistant in those capacities that worked to strengthen that relationship with those folks?
So I'm going to tell you what really helped me, man. I think the first year that I worked with you, just coming into the profession, and then all of those years that I spent as a head director, those like 5 to 6 years possibly that I spent as a head director, even though I didn't have a full-time assistant, I had a part-time person coming in. But here's what I mean by why those two things helped me. When I worked with you, I was a very rough around the edges educator. I knew the things, I knew how to do them, of course, professional and all of that, but I had to understand student engagement. I had to understand the back office of professionalism in terms of how do these things get done? How do I turn things in on time? How do I make sure I'm where I need to be because of duty, because of kids, because of all of the things? And so those conversations were had, but they were never had in a place of, as you would say, talking down to. It was more so, here's the standard, you got to get to the standard because that's what I'm doing and this is the expectation. And for those people that are over us, they need to be comfortable and trusting that Eric and Justin are going to be where they need to be. They're already not going to be down here. I remember you always saying, like, they're not worried about us, but they become worried when they have to be, right? And that kind of stuck in my head. And so those years, once you left and went to that next venture of your career, and I was there, those next few years was me using that intellect and that knowledge as a lone wolf, because I really didn't have anybody checking in on me. And so I was able to do what needed to be done. I was able to guide people. And then when I showed back up to work with you again at Heights and work with BJ, it was two different worlds, because now I'm going into a relationship with BJ where I was a head director at the school that he's now taking over. And then I'm back working with you, but I'm not the same person I was when we first worked together, right? And what I had to understand was, who is BJ on the bandstand and who is Eric now, and how do I fit within that mold? How do I do my job and fit with where they need me to be? And understanding that when I'm over there with you, my goal is to run percussion. You need to be in the office. You had paperwork to do. You had to get all of the things as far as like trucks and buses. So me showing up, leaving Hamilton, getting to my spot to teach that percussion class, the percussion at the end of the day, and getting kids to the field is exactly what you needed to thrive, right? And once I knew that, I'm able to run in a position where now it's like, okay, I know I can count on Jay gonna be here at this time. I can go talk in the office and lollygag with the principals to make sure like they know what they need and what we need, because I know here in this room is gonna be offered. Or when I got to Hamilton, in the mornings, I know, okay, well, BJ is building his environment. He's building this, and I need to move back out of the way and work with these students, work with these percussion kiddos, and manage those things well to give him the space to lead well, if that makes sense. Yep. Right? And so part of what I had to understand was, what does the head director need for me to thrive? And a lot of times we're not looking at it like that. We're looking at it, what do I need to thrive? But that's not really the role that you're in. You know what I'm saying? And that's the hard part sometimes for assistants. Your job is to thrive in a position where the head director can take some of that grunt work off of your plate. There were so many things that I didn't have to do moving from that head director spot. I wasn't responsible for paperwork anymore, outside of like percussion-based things for you. Like, hey, Jay, I need this for on two. I need the purchase order for sticks and all of that. But a lot of those hats that I was wearing as a head director, because I knew the weight, because I understood what it took to run a program from sun up to sundown, now let me take this whole gambit of things off your plate, manage them well, so when you do say, hey, I gotta leave, I got something to do on the other side of town, I got a family thing, I need you to run rehearsal, here's the things I need you to do. Bet. I can do that because I've been running in my lane, right? Mm-hmm. When a SEBA is like, hey, I have some questions about how do you think we should build community within the students. Okay, now I can kind of step into that lane because I've allowed you to navigate a space for yourself to then bring questions to me so we can collaborate. And it's not me being an echo chamber to say, well, this is what we've done. Well, this is a different environment. This is a different place. This is a different era. And so I think what assistants have to understand is that you have a job to do Monday through Friday. How well are you doing that job so that the head director can do what they need to do? Mm. And I think that's the hard part, because assistants feel like they're doing the head director's job. And in a sense, you're passing kids along to that person, he or she. But that does not negate the work that you should be doing, right? And so working with Mr. Cliff, he was a person that was like, hey, I want to parse out different responsibilities. Hey, Miss Riley, can you handle bus and things like that for events? Hey, Justin, can you make sure percussion is squared away? I just don't want to have to deal with any of that. And can you make sure kids know, because I'm a personable guy, kids, can you tap in with some of those troubled kids that we have in our band program that I just don't have the space and I don't have that real rapport with? Got it. I can do that. He's handling all the big ticket items. Well, then on the back end, if Mr. Cliff says, hey, my daughter has something at school. Hey, my son is sick. I got to head out. Can you get an agenda? Here's an agenda for after school rehearsal. Just give me a call once rehearsal's done. Let me know how everything went. So because I was able to do that with you, I was kind of already prepped to work with Mr. Cliff, because it was just a straight, like, this is your wheelhouse. Here are a few more things that I need you to take care of. And can you just be that liaison between middle school and high school? Can you help us navigate those waters with those kids? And so I think understanding your role, understanding what it is you do that thrives the best to help every other part. The assistant is really the engine that makes it go, to be quite honest.
As we take a break from our discussion, we're jumping into the segment called In Rotation. During this time, each of us will get an opportunity to share what we're currently listening to, favorite artists, genre, album, playlists. If you have any recommendations, drop us a line on our social media platforms at podthescore, or send us an email, podthescore@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you. In Rotation, folks. So surprisingly, I don't have a country or a Mexican regional music song today. I'm back. I got to give credit where credit is due. I got put on to Masego by Justin, and I've just been rocking with Masego ever since. We've included it into our presentations.
Yeah.
And I still remember that one student that was like, this ain't it. I want to put something else. Hand me over the aux cord, and we did not let them, because
no, that's not how that works.
But I got 90s remix by Braxton Cook, Ian Ewing, Masego, and Jay Prince. And so what I'm gathering here is that Braxton Cook and Ian Ewing are actually overlaying on top of Masego's tune of 90s there. And I'm a big fan of Braxton Cook. If you don't know of him, he's a saxophonist, does a lot of work on social media. So that's 90s remix by Braxton Cook, Ian Ewing, Masego, and Jay Prince. Justin, what you got?
All right, so as much as I love everything that I listen to, I'm a sucker for 70s soul music. People in the 60s too. People like Sam Cooke, Marvin Gaye, Johnny Taylor, people like that. So I'm constantly listening to these records and these artists. And so I happened to be on Instagram one day, and I heard somebody posted this singer named October London. So I heard his voice. I was like, man, he sounds just like Marvin. I go look up October London on YouTube. He has this plethora of covers and tunes, but he just dropped an album on Death Row Records, which is now owned by Snoop Dogg.
What?
And the name of the album is called The Rebirth of Marvin. The whole album is just a nonstop playlist of just classic sounds, but it's under that Marvin Gaye aesthetic. And so the song off the album that I really love is Mulholland Drive featuring Snoop Dogg. It's October London, The Rebirth of Marvin, Mulholland Drive by him featuring Snoop Dogg. Great record. All right, we're back. And so what I want to pose to you, Eric, is we're talking about this relationships that's forged in truth and grace, but there's a reality to who you work with, right? We don't want to sell this utopian dream that, hey, you do all of these things and y'all are going to be Batman and Robin, you know? I think the elephant in the room is there are things that people have the ability to do, and then there are things that they are incapable of doing, and it's no fault of their own. Sometimes it's the development, sometimes what they didn't learn in undergrad, just the context that they may have taught in before there was a connection between the two, or they've never had a reason to actually learn those things. So my question to you is, how do you work in that reality when you can clearly see what the head director can do and what the assistant can't do, what the assistant can do, but the head director doesn't have the ability to do? How do you navigate that for authentic work relationships that propels the kids in the program forward?
Humility from all parts, especially the head director.
Yeah.
For example, in the band world, orchestra world, choir world, and when it's structured and by ensembles of development or level ability, who's to say that the head director has to conduct the top ensemble? Why can't the
Eric,
head director conduct the beginner
brother.
ensemble? Or for a term that should only be used whenever you're signing up your ensembles for UIL contests, a sub-non-varsity ensemble. And so if you're unfamiliar with the way it's structured, there's a varsity ensemble, a non-varsity, and then sub-non-varsities after that. And each ensemble per designation would have a performance requirement and sight reading requirement. And one of the things that I just was willing to do, I taught the beginning band.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that I felt I needed to pawn off. This is beneath me. If I show that type of willingness as the head director, for example, hey, let's sit down and let's pick our dates. I want everyone to pick a day late first on what works best with your schedule. You'll be the person in charge of locking up the whole building. And at the end, when my staff would do that, I would pick 2 dates, sometimes even 3, to show that willingness on my part to say, if I'm asking you to do this, it's because I'm willing to do it as well. And a little bit more than what I'm asking y'all to do. Now, I've also heard of folks that head directors aren't willing to do that. And that's what, in my opinion, causes that tension, that separation of not collaborative work. So then it's my job to also know and view and hire because of people's strengths. For example, you know what? I can teach body, I can teach movement, I can teach visual, but hey, my color guard director is outstanding at this. It's okay that I can put Matt Caballero to run visual and when I'm walking out and handling some other things.
Right.
And trust them and potentially even pass it around through the staff to give them the opportunity at least a few times throughout the marching season to wet their feet on that. The other one is giving people time on the tower if you're a marching band director. It's literally move away, like move out the way and give folks the chance. Because if I know your strength is, hey man, you can run the tower, I don't have to worry about that. But then if we have a first year teacher that has never gotten that experience, didn't have any drum major experience, like just hasn't been in front of the band that often, guess what? Get up there. And then you give them a chance, like you give her a chance to say, hey, tomorrow you're running drill. We're going to learn pages 5 through 10 tomorrow. So I want you to go home, try to create if you want to check in with me during school, we can review your plan. Just know mistakes are going to happen. And just keep going. Now what you're hearing from that is a coaching tool, a coaching piece as well. So I'm recognizing that I got my people's strengths and I'm willing to pour into them, because you said something in the first half that is so true. That's going to happen. Things are going to happen. Emergencies are going to happen. Last minute requests are going to happen. That just happens in our profession. And our team has to be ready to say, I'm willing to do that. That is a sacrifice that I'm going to have to make, but I'm willing to do that because of the grace you've given me in other situations. So I hope people are hearing that. So if you're willing, if you're one of those folks that it says, hey, we got to do this and we got to, it's crunch time and now we got an added performance this week and sorry guys, we're going to have to add a Saturday rehearsal now. And it's like, you're going to have staff that's going to be like, either they're with it or saying, nah, man, that wasn't on my schedule. So sorry, I can't do that.
Right.
Or do you have, man, I had something planned on Saturday, but I understand the importance of this. And I'm willing to make that sacrifice to this. So that's something that I know a person wouldn't even consider if they didn't get the grace. And that grace goes into not just formal meetings over an agenda. That grace does not just go over faculty meetings. It needs to be interactions when you see somebody walk in and you can tell your staff is having a bad day. Their face is showing it. Their body language is showing it. And it's showing them grace in those moments at that time saying, man, you all right? Hey, is everything okay? Nah, I'm just going through some things at home. Cool. Do you need some time off, man? Do you need some time away? Do you like, and when people be like, what, you're doing that? It's like, yes, because they give 150% of themselves here. So it's about, it's so, there's so many layers to this. And what I'm getting to the center of is just use your heart. Right. It's like use your heart while you're using your mind, because if you know the person, then you know when things are different. And now we're talking about adults here, but these approaches, guess what, still apply to students. It's knowing that John walked in and you can tell they're upset, that they're not smiling today and something is different. The same way that I've recognized when Justin comes in just dog tired and just exhausted. And I can still remember some of those like a week before contest and he's about to just go off on the ensemble. And I was like, bro, you all right? He's like, no, I'm not. No, they don't have their stuff together. And I'm like, hey, man, just take a deep breath, bro. Like, you going in there, guns blazing, is not going to be what you want it to be.
Man, talk about it.
Pulling those coattails sometimes and recognizing, like, no, look, man, you have every right to be upset. Right. Going in there upset is not going to make it better. Like, and you could tell. At the time, when I remember saying things like that to you, you could tell, like, I don't want to hear this right now.
Because they sound bad.
But you would sit there, collect your breath, think about it, and you would at least go into that rehearsal a little more calm-headed. And it's because I knew your passion. I knew what you could know these students are capable of. And I had to like, hey, man, at what cost? I don't want you to get upset. I don't want your blood pressure to go up. I've been there. I get that. And so it's using my lived experience to also coach folks that I care about to say, bro, just don't. Like, just let's make it a pleasant experience from this point on. And they've given you a lot. Yes, it can be better, but.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good. And I think with that humility, it has to be a level of patience. Whew. I think you have to be willing to be patient with people. Even if they don't get it in that year, right? Like you want them to grasp a certain concept. Even from head director to assistant to head. How can you be patient with your head director? You see them on the tower pushing the kids past the gush and go, and you know in your heart of hearts, like, we can't keep doing this. We need to come up with something new. You have this initiative that you've talked about, but it hasn't been taken. It hasn't been implemented, but you keep explaining it in some of the debriefing meetings and all of that kind of stuff, and it's not being done. Patience, right? Patience to understand that maybe what you are engaging the staff with about this new initiative or a certain way to get to the field or a certain whatever, you have to allow people to see what you're seeing, because if you force them to do it, if you are so adamant and so nagging about it, it doesn't become something that's real and authentic. It becomes programmatic, and the kids are hindered. So you got your way. The head director is doing this initiative, but they also not coming out the tower to engage the initiative with you. They're also not talking about this outside of saying, all right, Mr. McLean wants to do this, mind clearing thing before we start. So y'all pay attention. Now, where are we? Now you feel the type of way because it's not being really met with some passion and conviction. And so you want to be patient enough to allow people to learn each other. I need to learn you. You need to learn me. We need to be learning. How do I read these things? How do I get some of these things out of the way? And another thing that I never really understood until I started seeing other head and assistant, head and percussion director relationships is me and Eric are friends. So him coming to work and being like, hey, I stopped and got some pandu, said, hey, it's some on your desk. Or us being out and I'm like, hey, I'm stopping over here at Rice Box. What you want me to bring you back? Mm-hmm. That was a normal thing, right? Or we'd be like, hey, we got time today. Let's go to Burns and get some barbecue. I'll get the you get the drinks. All right, cool. When I got to Hightower, Ryan used to do, I don't even think he really understood, but it's a little taco spot at a gas station before getting to the school. Every month, at least twice out of a month, I would get in, we'd be working, we'd be communicating, be like, oh yeah, I put some tacos on your desk. Come in another week, hey, some tacos on your desk, man. Coming in, hey, I'm stopping to get tacos, what would you like? It didn't register in my head that he was just showing, hey, we've been working hard. We've been up here night after night. We've been doing this. The least I can do is grab y'all something. So what does that do in turn for us? Hey, Ryan, head out, bro. I got this. So I'll lock up. Miss Riley, go ahead. Oh, and I'm going to stay, do a few grades. I'll stay with you. We'll lock it up together. Cool. So we have this inner working of a friendship and relationship that the kids can see. So now there is no putting people against each other. It's just, man, we rocking with each other. We may not fully agree with everything. I may not fully see all of Ryan's vision. There were some things that I know I didn't fully see that Eric, but they're also in different chairs. And when they look down at where we are, and I'm saying, yeah, I'm seeing this like this, because they are up there, because they are managing all these different purviews, they may not see what you're seeing, but it's up to us to be patient and say, just trust me on this. I really see this. And for them, they will trust you the more you become patient with them, the more you allow them to navigate and understand the same way that they're doing for their assistant. So I think in that truth and grace, there's humility to accept truth about yourself and about the assistant. And then there's grace and patience to say, how do we work and navigate these things?
The patience part, man. I've worked for folks that didn't have it. And so if I made a mistake and I can be considered a people pleaser because I just like to do my job really, really well. Yeah. That at any inkling of not doing my job well, I overreact. I take that to my heart. And so if I have patience from my superior to get it right when I didn't get it right the first time, because it is a learning process for me too. If I'm given an assignment that I've never done or I haven't done to its full capacity, hey, you're in charge of X, Y, and Z. It's like, oh God, okay, how do I start? Like I did the same, man. When I got back to Eisenhower, it was like, all right, Richardson, you're in charge of uniforms. Jameson, you're in charge of logistics for every game day. You're loading the trucks. You're doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Okay, how do you want me to do it? And I was like, however you want to do it. You create the plan and you present it to us, and then I'll let you know. We'll go through it, and if issues arise, then we'll adjust. And then so what I was giving was agency and autonomy in that decision making for a person who has a degree from a university. When we start treating adults like adults,
come on, man.
Instead of implementing this outdated, in my opinion, military hierarchy structure in our music programs, instead of just thinking, I am the head director because I just get the blame when things go wrong. And it's like that. And when folks would hear that, and it's like, yes, I can get the credit when we're doing well, but I transfer that credit back to y'all.
That's good.
And I still remember a tactic that I did, that I made sure that I did at the end of every single rehearsal. I'd ask every single person on the staff anything to say. Nope, I'm good. All right, cool. Next person. Anything to say? Yeah, guys, good job. Band, y'all were doing an outstanding job. Let's focus on X, Y, and Z. Get to the next person. Hey, don't forget, those permission slips need to be turned in to me by the end of the rehearsal. Stop by my office if you haven't picked one up. But great job today. Guess what? Boom, boom, boom. Everyone gets a chance to say something. Even if I remember having folks that would be like, nah, I'm not going to say anything. Nope, I'm not going to say anything. Nope, I'm not going to say anything. Then I would come back and say, hey, I need you to say something.
Right.
But I don't, you're saying everything. And it's like, no, I am. they need to hear it from you too, because what you just talked about was the unwillingness of a team to back each other up. Like you just said, you might not fully understand this initiative, this new thing, this one thing that we're trying. Locked in. Hey, but this is something you want to do. Hey, everybody pay attention. I need you to phones up. I need your phones up. I need your eyes on your director up here. Nothing else happens. This is what's going to happen right now. We're going to move forward. Everybody understand? This is something that I'm really pushing for. Let's lock it in. And then people be like, okay, and by the way, this strategy was not just done outside. This was inside. If all the directors were there, I would make sure that dismissal is like, hey, if Mr. Becker's on the other side, if Mr. McLean's in the other room, hey, drum majors, go get the directors.
Them. Exactly.
Go bring everybody in, and let's make sure we all end together. And those moments really taught me, move out of the way, Eric. You have good people surrounding you that when you're at home, and I was able to do something so unorthodox within my culture and my expectation of what I thought I would be as a band director is when I took that paternity leave, bro. Is that, people hear all the time, nah, I can't. We got to prepare for this. I got this. I got that. I have to go back home. Know what you have to do is go home and be with your child. And because that time you're never going to get back
at all.
And guess what? Y'all held down the fort.
Sure.
Things kept going. Culture was there. Y'all took initiative on things. Y'all were hitting me up and be like, Eric, sorry to bother you, man, but we just need your permission to do this. Like, can we roll with it? And I literally would always say yes. Because I had that trust. And at that point, it was 3 years in the making. We're working towards something, and it really becomes that. Now, how does one as an assistant listening to this and like, okay, this is all great, but my head director doesn't do any of this? So how would you recommend for a young person, a young director, or even a seasoned one that might be in a new situation where the head director doesn't have that synergy, doesn't have that relationship, doesn't have that openness sometimes to create that conversation of like, hey, where can I help? Where can I step in? Where can I take over? What do you think comes to mind, bro, that might help that young or experienced director that might be dealing with some challenging things in creating that relationship that's ideal for a head and assistant?
I think it's about communication. We talked at the beginning of this episode about knowing who you're working with. What have they went through? What have they experienced? I would go out on a limb and submit to all of our listeners that most of the head directors that are in that dictatorship or authoritative, like my way or the highway, is because they've been burned in some shape, form, or fashion in the past. And not necessarily by a director, but an admin or a student teacher, or they've experienced it when they were a head assistant director in some shape, form, or fashion. And sometimes we become the very product of what's hurt us. And so what I would say is communicate. First off, before you try to, and this is easy for me to say, partly because I had the blessing by God's grace to work with friends. But I had to take this into account when I worked with Ryan. Now, me and Ryan knew each other just from being in the same region while he was in A-Leaf and I was in HISD, and us just kind of rubbing shoulders and just, knowing people that knew the same people. But it wasn't until I became under his leadership that I had to take time to get to know him. And once I took time to get to know him, I understood what it was, and I understood how to navigate, how to say, when to say, what to say, his stress levels, what, if it's UIL game week and we dealing with failures and things, I need to come alongside and just help with some of those burdens. Right? When we come out of that and we're going into concert season, now we can transition and I can say, hey, I'm thinking about this for next year. And 10 times out of 10, Ryan was like, cool, I was thinking about that. Great. Let's make sure we work through that. And so what I would tell that assistant is get to know your director, please. Right? Get to know them, understand, like, where did they go to school? What was their musical upbringing? One of the questions you should always ask is, what was your experience like before you became a head director? And if you listen intently and closely, you're going to find the clues that will then give you the fuel to understand how do you insert those things. But in learning that information, you're building a foundation of trust. And the more that they can trust you, when you show up and you do the things and you push and you don't complain, even though you want to, even though you will have moments where you're like, man, they tripping. Trust it. Just put your head down and chop wood. Put your head down and chop wood. And there is going to come an alley-oop moment. And in that moment, this is where we miss it. In that moment, you say, I told you so. This is what we should be doing. Soon as you've done that, soon as you've allowed your ego and pride, that trust has went out the window. But when you say, man, I appreciate the opportunity. Here's what I was thinking. Let me know what you think about that. Let's process through that and see how this works. Maybe we can do it on a smaller scale. Already have an avenue to work out whatever it is that you want your head director to see. Don't just bring an idea without a process. Bring the idea, have a process on a small scale, and then be able to expand that process out. And then once you can do that, then the head director says, oh, I have a mover and shaker. Okay, let me do that. And then be honest, be very open and honest and say, this is what I think. This is how I can help in that. This is what I'm not good at, to who he or she may be. And they will appreciate that, because the head director does not mind turning things over. But because they take most of the grunt, because the admin is going to be like, why were y'all not at the pep rally? Because the admin is going to be like, blase, they just want to know that when the fire comes down, I'm going to take that fire because I have people behind me that can go to bat for me.
Man, yeah. Good stuff, bro. Because I know people get to this, like, oh yeah, y'all are friends, y'all work together,
right.
And it's, but Justin also knew that when I was in front of the students, it was work time, it was game time. If the door was locked and we're behind our office, then I could be myself a little bit more,
for sure.
And I want folks to recognize that these might be uncomfortable conversations, but they're ones willing to have. And the approach that Justin just gave you is a good one. And me as one thing that I've picked up on his conversation today is he removed his headband director hat and figured out how to support. Figured out the person. Because one question that I've always asked of my superiors, what's your preferred method of communication?
Yeah.
Like if I need to ask you of something and I need approval, how would you want that delivered? Well, just send it to me in an email. Cool. Well, guess what the other person says? Well, shoot me a text first. Or let's talk about it in person. Like, and then guess what? You honor that person's mode of operation, and that's okay. And that's essentially what Justin is trying to tell you. It's like he might have not done it that way as a head director, but he understands and trusts that his teammates have made the decision, and he's going to support it even from his angle. And because he knew when I would get to the point where I was just upset because he got to be the good cop, pretty much the majority of the time working together at Heights, and he didn't have to be that guy anymore. And it's funny because I became that when I got to Prairie View A&M University. I was like, man, I don't need to be that guy anymore, and I tell my students, like, what's going on, y'all,
exactly.
And then when they finally see me upset, they're like, oh, he actually can get mad, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't have to be that guy anymore,
right?
And because I recognize that part of the energy or the team or whoever was doing that was somebody was taking care of that already. And for us, it was Dr. Zach. It was like, he's the guy. He's gonna drop the hammer on y'all, and I can come through and I'm gonna just make y'all do it, and we're gonna do it. So I'm really glad you brought this up, man, because I want folks to find ways to close that gap and do your best to create a great working relationship. And the last thing I want to recommend to folks is that you make the push, you make the plea, but there are going to be situations that's probably the most you're going to get out of X person. Yeah. And even then, okay, that's the most I get. Let me capitalize on that moment. So shout out to Mr. Becker, who took a lot of the paperwork off my plate, and he enjoyed doing it. And this was just something that I was like, I don't get enthused to say, ooh, I get to go do a bus request, and those moments and where he was like, I'll take care of it, and I'll take care of it for the whole year. I have a system in place. Just let me handle it. And I was like, by all means, and then you start seeing him do hard copies, and one could say, well, Mr. Becker, we're already digital. We're doing X, Y, and Z this way. It's like, man, let him have it. Like, he has a system. At the end of the day, just report to me what support you need from our end to get that goal done. And again, it's me removing the ego and creating a team effort, because at the end of the day, if the students see that you work together and you're vibing with each other, they know. But guess what? They also know if you're not working together, you're not vibing together. The little sly comments come off in rehearsal, or I don't get why so-and-so told you to do that. And so last but not least, my folks, avoid having those frustrating comments or conversations in front of the students when that needs to be done behind closed doors, with colleagues, or to a point where if you can't have that relationship fixed, it's never done in front of the students. That way, if you ever choose to work somewhere else, you're able to leave with integrity.
Yeah.
This has been another production of The Score. Connect with us on social media at Pod The Score. Send us an email, podthescore@gmail.com, or visit our website, revivalmusicproject.org. If you've enjoyed this episode, do us a huge favor. Rate and review us. This will help us reach even more listeners. Intro music by Justin McLean. The rotation and outro music by Ben Borges. And as always, let's continue to impact these lives through the vehicle of music.